as the signs of Zanithal's awakening spread across the world. Symbols in the sky, the strange stillness of wind and sea. Governments moved fast. In capital cities, new command centers appeared in days, wired into global networks, and emergency councils, offices once used for wars and space missions, became Zanithal rooms, where presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists sat side by side. Their main task was simple to say and hard to do: find and prepare the strongest, smartest, most unusual volunteers on Earth for the trial that was coming. But no one, not even the oldest leaders or the brightest scientists, knew what kind of exam Zanithal really was. People only had stories and guesses. Some said it would test only the body, others said the mind, and some believed it would test things nobody had a name for yet. Because of this, every government, unsure of what the exam might be, tried to prepare for everything at once. They searched for every kind of talent and pushed their volunteers through all kinds of trials: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. If Zanithal tested strength, they wanted the strongest. If it tested puzzles, they wanted the cleverest. If it tested courage, kindness, or strange inner powers, they wanted people who were strong in those too. No leader wanted to fail just because they guessed wrong about what was coming. Each country began its own race to find elite candidates. Teams of experts, neuroscientists, AI builders, military planners, doctors, and disaster specialists were given special powers and fast approval. They searched school records, medical tests, sports scores, and old competition results. They reopened secret files and quiet reports about people who did impossible things. With new emergency laws, they tested and recruited Otete high speed. Soon, each nation had its own group: ultra-endurance runners, genius problem solvers, inventors, math prodigies, quantum researchers, rescue divers, expert linguists, and people whose strange talents had never been public. Files were opened on those who saw patterns in pure chaos, who stayed calm in horrors that broke others, who could learn any system in hours, or who showed odd gifts no one could fully explain. Training centers rose in deserts, frozen plains, deep forests, and old bases once left to rust. These were more than military camps. They were testing grounds for every kind of stress the planners could imagine. Volunteers trained under extreme heat, cold, hunger, and pressure. They made choices with no sleep, worked together and against each other in long simulations, and tried to solve alien-style problems based on the few clues humanity had about Zanithal. Rooms filled their senses with fear, noise, and confusion to see who could still think clearly. Virtual worlds showed millions of different futures. Psychologists, doctors, and philosophers watched them, checking not only for speed and strength, but for character: who could change without breaking, who could lead without becoming cruel, who could suffer without giving up. Many states wrapped these programs in deep secrecy. False projects and cover stories hid the real work. Families of chosen volunteers were promised money, honors, and lifelong care. Still, one fact could not be solved. Every sign suggested that Zanithal's test would allow only one final survivor, beyond single nations. Larger structures also formed. International science groups created an informal Zanithal charter, sharing safe, non-secret findings. Space agencies and observatories traded data in real time, looking for patterns in the sky that might hint at the rules of the exam. Global think tanks held fast online meetings about strategy, fairness, and what first contact might mean. Their short reports spread quickly, and training programs in many countries changed overnight in response. New search teams went into refugee camps, crowded cities, and remote villages where talent was often ignored. They looked for a hidden genius. Children who built working machines from scrap, guides who led people out of disasters by instinct, local leaders whose calm choices had saved whole communities. But governments were not alone. Old secret orders tied to forgotten temples, books, and prophecies believed Zanithal was the moment they had waited for. They opened long-locked vaults and brought out maps, riddles, and rituals they claimed were made for this age. They woke hidden families and sleeper circles, sending them to find unmapped prodigies, people whose gifts had never touched any official record, reclusive thinkers, fighters who had walked away from unwinnable wars, survivors of streets and slums who moved through crowds like they were reading lines of code. Criminal groups prepared. In their own way, data brokers quietly built lists of likely candidates, people governments were testing or might soon approach. These lists were sold to the highest bidder. Smugglers offered secret routes to move, hide, or steal such people. Some gangs turned themselves into rough training schools, giving gifted locals food, shelter, and tools in exchange for loyalty. When the world changed, in harsher places, kidnappings grew. People with rare bodies or minds were taken across borders and sold to those who hoped to own a future champion. At the same time, private academies and underground labs expanded their work. Many had always lived at the edge of the law. They ran risky brain experiments, extreme combat programs, endless wargame simulations, and early human-machine links. Their volunteers used experimental exoskeletons, tried new neural implants, and swallowed dangerous drugs meant to sharpen memory and focus. The idea was simple. Any real advantage might turn out to be the difference between life and death inside Zen. Some of these groups tried to build teams so tightly joined through trust, shared training, and direct tech links that even if Zanithal allowed only one survivor, that person would carry a piece of the group mind back out. Spiritual and cultural groups trained another kind of strength. Monasteries opened their doors to soldiers, students, and strangers alike, teaching deep breathing, silence, and clear awareness to guard against unknown mental attacks. Pilgrims traveled to sacred places where priests, shamans, imams, monks, elders, and other guides tried to read dreams and signs, helping volunteers shape their inner worlds for what lay ahead. In forests, mountains, islands, and city rooftops, people of many beliefs sat together. In shared prayers and long quiet watches, they blessed volunteers from all nations, not with weapons or tactics, but with stories, songs, and practices meant to help them stand against fear, loneliness, and the weight of carrying a world's hopes. By the time official countdowns to Zanithal appeared on screens, the scale of preparation was beyond measure. National labs and secret bunkers, village halls and hidden gyms, satellites and street markets, silent temples and noisy training arenas, all now turned around one unknown exam. Governments had chosen and shaped their best and brightest. Corporations, criminal networks, old orders, private academies and faith communities had raised their own champions, often without knowing what the others were doing. Across every border and in every language, the same questions rose in news reports, late-night talks, and quiet messages between parents and children. Who had been chosen when Zanithal finally called? Who would step forward? Who would endure its silent judgment? And if anyone returned from a test that no one yet understood, what would they bring back to a world that had already changed itself just to reach the door they were about to enter?